I did a lot of bad things. I said a lot of bad things. I'm alright. I don't care if I don't care if I just sell one book. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't do it, but I can talk to a lot of people. I can talk. Can't nobody stop me from talking to people.
My heart is for reentry and for people to have a second chance, another opportunity. I believe that's what Christ has done for us in giving us another life if we believe in him. So, long story short, you have a comeback story that's unbelievable. I need you to talk about that because so many people need to hear it.
Okay.
Some of the traumatic things that you experienced in your early childhood.
Well, George, the first thing, there were quite a few, but the first thing that happened, I lost my virginity at 8 due to my babysitter. A lady, well, she was about 7 years older than I was, a lady that my mother trusted. Having sex with her often really changed me, as it would probably change anybody, and it made me a dark, dysfunctional, devious, evil little kid, and I went down this downward spiral for a long time, and I never corrected it. I never fixed it. So that's why we have issues later on in life, because we never fixed the little kid inside of us. From that point on, I had a different outlook about women. I didn't respect women. I became verbally abusive to women, and it felt good to me because I was acting out what my babysitter had did to me. I had dove deeply into porn by 8 years old, and it didn't stop for many years. The outlook I had on women, like I say, I didn't respect them. I was verbally abusive to them. I looked at women as just sex objects. I didn't want to be that person, but my innocence and my virginity was taken from me. So I was exposed to demons at that point and for a long time. And my belief in God went away. As wrong as it was what she did to me, I liked it. And so I started believing in the devil because he was giving me what I thought he was giving me, what I needed and what I wanted. And it filled a lot of voids. And so I stayed on that dark path for a long time, not only physically, but mentally. And I didn't have respect for women. Only person I had respect for was my mother, but she wasn't there for me. So the visions of that woman that molested me stayed with me for a long time. That never went away, and I still manage it to this day. So that's why I understand when women are raped and things like that or molested, I know what they're going through because I went through it from a young man's perspective. Being addicted to porn, not being able to concentrate in school because I'm in elementary school thinking about the porn movies that I was watching at home. So that affected me later on mentally as far as my knowledge base. Was I able to learn? Yeah. Did I want to learn? No, it wasn't important to me because learning didn't give me a desire. It didn't fulfill a sexual desire. But the porn did.
And I'm glad you're candid and really talking about some things that help other people. I heard a wise man once say the only time you should look down on somebody is when you're trying to help them up. And so, no one that's watching this can look down on you or me for the background that we have and some of the things that we've done. Talk about your mother a little bit. I know there's some trauma in that and some of the things you saw in your childhood.
Okay, so my parents, and this is why I had become so dysfunctional in my relationships. My parents got divorced when I was 11. In Cleveland, when you graduate from the 6th grade, it's an actual graduation. They have a ceremony, and you go into junior high school. Neither one of my parents came to my 6th grade graduation. I didn't think anything of it, right? I leave home that morning. I put on I had a leisure suit. You remember the 2-piece suits? It was sky blue and I had a beige turtleneck. So I go to elementary school, and then it's called a clap out, where the 6th graders walk through the school and out and go home, where the 5th graders below they line the hallways and they clap in the clap out. So we're moving forward into the 7th grade. I get home, and this is when my life changed again drastically. I get home and I see something on our front lawn. So the corner that I turn to head to my house is about maybe 100 yards. I see garbage in our front yard, and I knew we had taken the garbage out the day before. It should have been gone. Well, I get to the house and it wasn't garbage. It was our furniture. It was our beds. It was our washer and dryer. It was our curtains. It was the dog that we had. It was a fish tank that we had. And it was also my brother, my sister, my mother. And I said, what's going on? And they said, we have to move. So I'm like, okay, we have to move. Cool, we're moving. I make a right turn to go in the house. My brother grabbed me. He said, no, you can't go back in there. And I said, why not? He said, we got evicted. So I break down and start crying. And only reason I knew we got evicted, because first he told me, and second he said, look on the door. And I looked. Back then, when you get evicted, they put a big red sticker on your door of your house. Front door, side door. And I read it, and it said evicted. That's when my parents had gotten divorced. Divorce was in progress, and my mother couldn't afford the house. So the court system deemed my mother unfit. That day, that moment, I grabbed the buggy, which my clothes were already in. Remember those buggies that had the 2 wheels on it? It's a grocery buggy. I'm pulling mine. My sister's pulling hers. My brother and my mother pulling theirs. We walk about maybe a mile, and we stop on the street corner, Coit and Alder. This is in East Cleveland, Ohio. And my mother said, and I didn't know where we were going. I thought we were going to a house. My mother said, okay, my nickname is Double O. Okay, Double O, you going over Irene's house. And I said, Ma, who is Irene? She said, my mother worked at a bar. She was a bartender. The lady that works with me, so you're going to move with her. I didn't even know Irene. And I said, where are you and Donnie going, my brother? We're going to move in the hotel. They lived in a hotel. And I said, where's my sister? Me and my sister are 10 months and 27 days apart, something like that. She's going to live with Irene's daughter. So we went in 3 different directions. And I'm walking, like, no big deal. That gave me anger issues. I love my mother to death. I was bitter because she lost her house. I wasn't even bitter about my father leaving because I loved him and I knew I would see him again. But at this point, I didn't know. My father didn't even know we were homeless. Prior to us leaving the house, losing the house, I knew something was wrong because for weeks and months, we didn't have water. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have gas. We didn't have a telephone. We didn't have any food. We would connect the hose from our neighbor's house to our house just to have water. We would connect an extension cord from our neighbor's house to our house just to have electricity. We had to take baths in pots. We had to put the pots on the hot stove, heat it up. So I went through a lot, and when we lost the house, that broke my family traditions as far as me knowing what family is about. I had nothing as far as family is concerned after the 6th grade. Moving forward, living with Irene after about a year, things got better, but it got worse because we had to go to court. Me and my sister with my father determined if we were going to live with my father or if we were going to foster care. We went to court, and for a long time I hated white lawyers. It had nothing to do with being a racist, but that's who I saw when we went to court. That's who I saw yelling at my father. Wow. That's who I saw telling me, you can't live with both your parents, so don't ask me that again. And he said, well, who do you want to live with? I said, I want to live with both my parents. You cannot live with both your parents and get divorced. And he banged on the table. So don't ask me that again. So I had a real deep hatred for lawyers. And it wasn't about a black and white thing. It's just lawyers. And I was upset because he was disrespectful to my father. And me and my sister hugging, we holding hands. I remember shaking. We had to walk up to the judge's bench and make a decision. But he said, okay, you're going to stay with your father, you and your sister, but we sending a social worker to your house. You got a week to get your house together, Mr. Walker. He was talking to my father. And we left the courthouse not knowing if we were going to foster care, not knowing if we were going to be able to live with my father because he had a 1-bedroom and it's 3 of us. So we wound up, the social worker came to the house. She went through. Luckily, My father lived in a house that had an apartment right next door. All you had to do was open the door, and it led to the next apartment, which was my uncle's apartment. My uncle left the house that day, so the social worker thought we had a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 kitchens, 2 dining rooms. We didn't. We had a 1-bedroom apartment, 1 kitchen and a dining room. That was it. But she thought it was combined. Oh, she thought it was 2. And that's how my father got custody of us, and my mother lost custody and remained living in the hotel with my brother. And I didn't see my mother and brother for a long time after that.
Now, we're hearing all this from a retired command master chief, and there's more to it. You were 1 point away
Yeah,
from giving up 4 times.
yeah,
You failed.
yeah.
And I believe somebody needs to hear that, because I need to hear
Young men and women out there, I mean, from children in elementary school, junior high school, even college, or trying to get into college. A lot of you are struggling to pass the SAT, the ACT. Some of you pass it and you get the minimum score. But let me tell you about the minimum score. Don't push yourself to try to max it out. I took the ASVAB. The ASVAB is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude and Battery Exam. You need to take that to get into the military. I took it 5 times. I failed it 4 times. The first time I got a 6, then I got 11, 19, and a 30. The 5th time I got it, I went from a 30 to a 31, which was 1 point. All you need is 1 point to get into the military after you failed it. You get the minimum will take you to your maximum in life. What kicked in then was my work ethic. All you need to do is break past that barrier and get your foot in the door. You get into the military or you get into college. After that, your work ethic has to take over. Your drive has to take over. So the 1 point changed my life. 1 point got me to do 32 years in the military. It got me medical benefits. It got me dental benefits. It got me life insurance. I traveled the world. You know, I got a chance to go back to Cleveland and be a recruiter. I was able to get all types of jobs in the military. So all I needed was that 1 point. And for you, that 1 point is just getting in the door. And that's all you need, and it'll change your life.
Master Chief, Command Master Chief, talk to me, man. This has got to be our last segment for now, because I think we have so much that we may have to do a part 2. We have to talk about how we met. I need you to tell the story, because you can tell it better than I can. Please just expound, let loose, let them know how we met.
Okay, so June, and I remember the day specifically. June 6th of 2016, I was going to the barbershop to get my beard trimmed up. And I sat in a chair, and you just started cutting. And you had some heavy stuff on your mind that day, because you had started talking about the Legacy Reentry.
Yeah.
And so Bug was sitting across from me, he was walking around, and you were talking to him. You know, there was some sports on the TV. I can hear the radio going. And you said, man, I'm trying to find some people that can talk to some people. I'm trying to get these people off the street, get people jobs, get them, you know, to rehabilitated. You know, if they just got out of jail, I'm trying to get them back into school and things like that, trying to help them out. I'm looking for somebody that can talk to people, man. And Bug looked around. He said, well, why don't you talk to the man that's in your chair? You don't know who that is? And not that I, you know, I'm a big time person or anything like that. But, and you said, no, I don't know. He said, and you asked me, said, man, who are you? So you stopped trimming my beard and we talked. And I said, you know, he said, you were in the Navy? I said, yeah. I said, I've retired. I did 32 years a year ago, you know, at the time. And he said, well, you know, I need somebody to talk to these cats. I need some help. And I said, well, I can help you out. He said, you talk to people? I'm like, yeah, that's what I do.